The Hamilton Tiger Cats traveled to Ottawa for a meeting with the Redblacks on Friday night. Dustin Crum made his CFL debut against the Tabbies in Week 5, but looks like a much different QB after 2 straight Crumback wins capped in overtime. The home side are 3.5-point favorites in the nation's capital. Who are you betting on and why?
I am taking Ottawa all the way here. I am fully on the Dustin Crum hype train. And we talked about it earlier in the show. Cameron Judge did a fairly good job of limiting Crum's mobility later in that football game against the Calgary Stampeders. Cameron Judge is a freak. He runs a 4.5 as a linebacker. Jameer Thurman is very good in the middle there for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but I don't think he is anywhere near as fast. They're not going to be able to contain Crum as well as the Stamps did on the ground. And I don't trust their quarterback situation at all. So I'm taking Ottawa all the way here.
The smart play here is the Redblacks, and you maybe even buy a half point just to get it to 3. But the value here is with the Redblacks. All the momentum is there. I think they're better overall on defense as well. They've been very opportunistic, or should I say Brandon Dandridge has been very opportunistic of late with his pick sixes, igniting some energy for this team. And I think Dustin Crum is in a great rhythm here. And the Ticats don't even know who they're going to start at quarterback. And I agree with you, JC. They should probably roll with Taylor Powell for at least another week and let Bo Levi Mitchell get fully healthy. So I don't really care who starts at quarterback. Ottawa's got a wave of momentum here. They're riding it. Remember, the last time they played at home, they upset the Blue Bombers, and the Tiger Cats are nowhere near that class of team. So take the Redblacks and take those winnings.
The Roughriders and Argonauts meet on the East Coast for the second straight year in Touchdown Atlantic on Saturday afternoon in Halifax. Toronto has been installed as 10.5-point favorites against Saskatchewan. Do the Riders have a chance to cover and win?
I believe the green and white have a chance to cover the spread. Winning is a stretch and probably a long shot at this point. The Argonauts were heavy favorites a week ago going into Hamilton. Yes, they covered the spread. Yes, Chad Kelly is a favorite right now for most outstanding player at most sports books, and I think in the eyes of many analysts, including the one that's talking to you right now, and probably John Hodge and JC Abbott as well. But this is a big ask, I think, to go to double digits against a Roughriders team that knows it needs to play better and is getting some reinforcements back soon in the receiving core. Jake Weineke was practicing, as was Braden Lenius and Kean Schaefer-Baker, who for my money is the best receiver on that roster still. So even if they only get 1 or 2 of those guys, and perhaps there's a potential to get all 3 back in the lineup in Halifax, then I think the Riders can compete here. It's just a big spread. I think the Argos win the game because Chad Kelly is playing so well, and I really like what the Argonauts are doing on defense with Flo Oromalade and then being opportunistic as well. Royce Mechie has been balling out in the secondary for Toronto, but it's a big spread. So the Argos win, but Sask covers.
I will not be out in Halifax this year like I was last year. You and John Hodge will be out there on the East Coast. And because of that reason, having experienced that travel, I'm taking the Argos and I'm taking all the points, right? Saskatchewan played out here in Vancouver on Saturday. They went back to Regina. Now they're going to make that hike all the way out to Halifax. Toronto just had to take a 1-hour time limit difference and hop out there to Nova Scotia. So I think they'll be better rested. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are going to be tired. They are beat up right now with a backup quarterback at the helm. And I think when all is said and done, Craig Dickinson is going to be a broken man on a Halifax pier because the Argos are going to win this handedly.
Wow. The Lions visit Commonwealth Stadium trying to push the Elks into infamy. If Edmonton loses, the Green and Gold will own the longest home losing streak in pro sports history all by themselves. Can the Elks avoid another home loss or even cover as plus 8.5-point home underdogs?
Look, I am never going to bet on the Edmonton Elks to win, probably at all, this season, and certainly not this week against a juggernaut BC Lions team. I think they set a new North American pro sports record for the longest consecutive home losing streak, and it will be an embarrassment for one of the most storied franchises in all of Canadian pro sports. But the BC Lions are going to have Dane Evans, their backup, in at quarterback. He is less mobile than Vernon Adams Jr., and they have struggled to protect their quarterback recently. The interior of that offensive line got embarrassed badly by the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who were last in the league in sacks going into that game. Edmonton's not a stud unit on defense, but Jake Serezna is going to get some serious pressure on Dane Evans and give him some hits. I think that's just enough for the Elks to cover. I think the Lions win by a touchdown, but not more.
I can't do it, and I won't do it. I will not put my hard-earned money down on the Edmonton Elks to cover a spread until they show that it's possible. Last week, the Lions were big home favorites, and they just barely got the job done. And a big reason why is this defense. I can't see Taylor Cornelius having much, if any, success against Matthew Betts breathing down his neck, who has 10 sacks already. He's on pace for 30 sacks. That would set the CFL record by 4.5 if he keeps this pace up, and I think he can continue it. He's had multi-sack games already this season, and I could see another one coming here against Cornelius. The only way Edmonton has a chance to cover is if Trey Ford plays more snaps than Cornelius. So I don't think that's going to happen. I am wishing it does for the betterment of the Elks and the league overall. But for that reason, the Lions defense, that is, I will take BC to cover the 8.5-point spread and obviously win the game.
Calgary takes on the Alouettes in Montreal on Sunday night. The Owls are short home favorites coming off a bye week. Who do you like in La Belle Province?
This game I was going back and forth on a little bit because the Alouettes are rested and they've brought in Sean Lemon, to infuse some pass rush energy on that defense. But the Alouettes were actually tied with the Roughriders entering the last week for the league low in sacks. Both had 7. Now, of course, Roughriders played and got a few, so the Alouettes sit last in pressure. And I think Jake Maier is on the upswing here. I think he's really feeling it after a 400-plus yard game with 4 touchdown passes. And I think the Stampeders know how critical this win is going to be for them, with their upcoming stretch of games being very difficult. So I'm going to take the Stampeders to respond to the challenge of Dave Dickenson, even though this trip to Montreal has been very tricky for the Stampeders in the past.
I'm rolling with the Stamps as well. And for me, it comes down to that offense. Jake Maier the last 2 weeks has been on point. Dave Dickenson is letting him stretch the field. And they've got better weapons right now since they brought back Mark and Michelle. And now with the emergence of a young Clark Barnes in that receiving core, I think they are deeper on offense than the Alouettes are, even though Austin Mack has played very well for them as a rookie. I think the Stampeders are able to cover this short spread and win this game.